You knew it was just too good to be true. You knew it was too good to be true. Rutgers is going to Rutgers after leading much of the way against number 8 Michigan State at home. We let a lead slip away late, reminiscent of many old Steve Peichel teams. Went old school, went cold, shooting down the stretch, blowing a 12-point lead, and a 12-point second half lead. Going 8 minutes without hitting a shot in a game that goes into overtime. We're outscored 15-16 as Michigan State hits their free throws, which would be a difference in the game. And Rutgers continuing not to shoot well. Rutgers does Rutgers things and snatches defeat from the jaws of victory. It's our fourth consecutive loss. We kind of expected, once the calendar flipped, the Big Ten schedule kicked into high gear, thinking it was going to be a rough road. We did get a couple wins and avoided bottoming out. Thank you, Oregon, Penn State, and Minnesota. We fall to 9-12, 2-8 in the Big Ten. Hey, look, we win this game, and we're 10-11. We have 3 wins. There's 4 teams below us in the Big Ten. You can argue and it'd be like, okay, this team is not as bad as we thought it would be. We all thought we'd be taking up the bottom of the Big Ten. Nonetheless, we lose. We are 9-12, 2-8 in the Big Ten. Michigan State is now 19-2. They're 9-1 in the Big Ten. Guard Jeremy Fears scores his season high against Rutgers. What else? 29 points with 27 coming in the second half in overtime. And he assisted on the Ugachukwu 3 with 11 seconds left. And he had hit, he scored 9 points, all on 3-pointers, 3 3-pointers. But Fears hit 16 of 17 free throws. And that ultimately would be the difference in the game. We surprisingly took control, okay, early on. You're like, all right, but you kind of felt that, okay, Rutgers is going to give it up, right? But, they went on a 16-5 run. We led for like 30-plus minutes, something along those lines. We gave up a 21-9 run in the second half. Michigan State ties the game at 67. There's less than a couple minutes left, and you're like, oh, man, we just can't have nice things. And we go stone cold like Steve Peichel teams have done when we relied on toughness, gritty determination, and defense and couldn't, hit a 3-point shot or a free throw. And we go to last 440 without a field goal. J. Mike had 5 free throws in that same time period, but he would miss a big one with about 17 seconds left. That would have kind of helped ice the game. Nonetheless, Rutgers had some other free throws. Teams traded free throws down the stretch. That missed free throw by J. Mike allowed Ugachukwu to tie the game on a 3-pointer. Once again, we can't defend a 3. We can't defend opposing guards. I was wearing my shock face. This was kind of a surprise that we would let it happen again, but in the end, it's not a surprise. Tariq Francis, who again was our leading scorer, missed a runner at the buzzer. Boy, that would have been huge. Could you imagine if Tariq Francis, who many had suspicions about whether or not he can play in a Big Ten, wins a game against Tom Izzo and Michigan State at home? That would have been epic. Nonetheless, Michigan State scores the first 10 points of overtime. 11 on free throws. Again, that was the deciding factor. And we could not answer offensively. We shot 2 for 10 from the floor after starting the game, shooting pretty well from 2 and 3-point range. Again, it's a tale of two teams, tale of two players, two halves, two games. We were shooting 50% from the field early on. And I want to say we were around 43% from 3, which for us, really good. And Michigan State wasn't shooting great, and their shooting from 3 was, not great either, around like 35%, whatever it was early. But then we do what we do, and we missed 13 out of 15 shots. We allow Michigan State to get back in the game. We had a bunch of misses. I want to say 7 misses over, 12, 13, 14, 15-minute time span, whatever it was. But we were leading 37-28 at halftime, and 9-point lead against Michigan State at home. You'd take that any time. Darren Buchanan, Harun Zerno, and Tariq accounted for 30 of the 37 points, even as other guys had 0. But I think Michigan State turned the ball over 10 times, resulting in 17 points for Rutgers. So Michigan State was a little bit off, and we were playing well enough to have a lead at home. But, again, we're erratic, a tale of two teams. Guys take turns, being productive or not being productive. Our goalie, no surprise there. Caden Powers and J. Mike, I think, had 0 points in the first half. Of course, J. Mike came alive in the second half and had 15 points. Again, tale of two cities. He finished with 15 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists. And he missed that critical free throw late. But as has happened the past couple games, Michigan State wanting to play Michigan State Tom Izzo kind of basketball destroyed us on the boards. 45-24. And this is the second or third game in a row where we are being out physical and out rebounded. And that's one of the things, if you're a Steve Pikiell, Steve Pikiell would love to play the way that Tom Izzo plays. But that being said, we get off to a good start. We're shooting 43% from 3, hitting, our free throws. But we wind up shooting, at the end of the game, we shot only 40% for the game and 37% from 3. So what happens when you go 8 minutes with no buckets? After a lackluster start, Montclair State, Michigan State, they shoot 49%, so they shot better in the second half. They struggled a little bit from 3 at 36%, but did just well enough. Deciding factor, 24 for 26. 3, and of course, Fears was responsible for most of that, including hitting free throws down the stretch and in overtime for the deciding factor. So close, but no cigar. Let's go through the production. Okay, we had 5 guys in double figures. That's a rarity for us. And against Michigan State. Tariq, 23 points. Once again, our leading scorer. He's at 15.9, just below 16. 2 points higher than I thought he would be as our leading scorer before the season started. Again, volume shooting. 6 for 17. What is that, about 35%? 3 of 8 from 3. 8 for 8 from free throw. He's unbelievable. 87.5% from free throws. And as I've said, he's approaching Cam Spencer territory. Harun Zerno, another tale of two cities guys, 16 points, including a good first half, 4 for 8 from 3, in 33 minutes. He saw a lot of playing time, as we'll see. J. Mike, 15 points and 40 minutes playing time, 4 for 8 field goals, 6 for 8 from free throws, but he had a big miss. And Darren Buchanan, another guy that's up, that's down, feast or famine. Good first half, not so much in the second half. He cools off in the second half, does wind up with 14 points, 5 from 11 shooting, and 1 for 4 from 3. Dylan Grant, it was a Dylan Grant sighting. I don't know if he's feeling better, if it was the flu, whatever it might have been. But for the first time in 5 games, he gets double digits. He scored 11 points, 4 rebounds, 34 minutes. So I guess he's not feeling under the weather. And as usual, our 5 position, a non-factor. Ogboli, 0 points, 1 rebound, 3 personal fouls in 11 minutes. Caden Powers, not a good night. 0 points, 0 for 5 from field goals, 0 for 4 from 3. He's got a little bit of J. Mike and Tariq in him. He's going to put it up there. Chris Newilly, 0 points in 8 minutes. Lino Mark, 0 points in 5 minutes. So we missed out on going 10-11 and, getting our third Big Ten win, not against a patsy, but against an elite team. And we would have shocked the world, but we are who we are. And something like this can allow you, I don't know if momentum is actually a thing, but it gives you something to build upon, saying, hey, coach after the game was like, well, we're a young team. There's 7 new guys. Okay, I get it. You have to pull all these guys together. And the skill sets that you need, they might not necessarily have, so they have to learn how to win together. But, whether it's football or basketball, we're not winning these games against top-of-the-half competition, at least not recently for basketball. So that's it. Good effort. No, moral victories. Not big on moral victories. You want to see progress and play well in those situations. But in the end, if you go, if you lose out in the Big Ten, what does it all matter? Right? If you finish the year 10, 11 wins, whatever, it doesn't really matter. All right, football schedule is out. And let's talk about it. I'm not a half glass full kind of guy. With this schedule, I'm looking at a 5-7 kind of season. Although I think a 6-6 winning schedule going to a bowl game absolutely should be a thing. But here's why I think it won't be. I know it's a pessimistic view. And in all reality, we should be a 6-6 team. Let's go through it. So we're not going to be 3-0 this year, so let's get that out of the way. So I almost kind of like this schedule better. There's a little more balance between the front end and the back end. And you don't have to say, oh, look, we're 4-0 for the 4th year in a row, and then we wind up like 5-7. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of going to games where we only win against, Norfolk, Wagner, and Miami of Ohio, and then get blown out by Wisconsin, UCLA, or Oregon. But we start off against Joe Harris-Simiak and UMass. Not much to think about there. Probably should be a win. Boston College? At Boston College should be a win, but you never know. Boston College, these are the kind of teams, those kind of middling teams, although the record hasn't been great of late. Percentages are they'll have to catch up and start playing a little better. But that should be a win. And then game 3 at home against USC, we will not win that game. We just don't match up against USC. Lincoln Riley, they have a track meet kind of team. They have the kind of wide open old Pac-12, Big 12 kind of offense that we just can't keep pace with, although we should have, who knows how AJ is going to shake out. But last year was a step up on offense. I don't think we have enough defensively as of right now. We don't even have a defensive coordinator, so who knows how bad we will be there. So we'll be 2-1 there before we go on to our Patsy. That is Howard at home. So I'll see home wins against Howard and UMass. I don't know if that's worth the investment, but nonetheless, then it's home against Indiana, and please don't make this the homecoming game because, we won't be competitive in that game. And then it's so at that point, wins against UMass, Boston College, and Howard. We lose to USC and Indiana. And I've talked about, not looking to be Indiana, although that would be nice. If you can be USC and be 8-4, 9-3, and go to good bowl games, that should be within our reach. It really should. So at this point now, we're wins against UMass, Boston College, Howard, losses against USC and Indiana. So we're 4-2. We go to Maryland. Mike Locksley going to be on the hot seat. Can we beat them 2 years in a row? I don't know. Let's give us a win. And now we're 5-2, and we're at Northwestern. Northwestern was a bowl team last year. I think they won against Central Michigan in their bowl game, 34-7. They were 7-6. This is an old type Pat Fitzgerald kind of Northwestern team. They're not flashy, they're not sexy, but they play close to the vest and tough, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's a loss. That'll be a toss-up game. You can't pencil that one in as a win. The games that will decide the season for me, we go on to Michigan, or Michigan comes to Piscataway after that. But the games that are going to decide our season are November 7th and 14th at Wisconsin and home against Nebraska. Before that, we'll lose to Michigan. All right, so we're 5-3 at that point. We have to win one of these. We'll probably be slight underdogs at Wisconsin. Luke Fickell is on the hot seat, but we struggle against Wisconsin. Nebraska, which is kind of interesting. They lose Dylan Raiola, but they seem to be floundering a little bit right now. We'll be slight underdogs in those games, pending any sort of unforeseen circumstances. We have to win one of those games. If we don't win either or against Wisconsin or Nebraska, it's a 5-7 season. Because then it's off to Penn State. We won't win at Penn State. Yes, it's becoming Iowa State of the East. We will lose regardless, even with Iowa State transfer quarterback Rocco Becht. A lot of people feel that is a Penn State might not be as competitive. Matt Campbell, not an elite coach, and I don't think he is. But again, you got to beat the champ to beat a champ, and beating Penn State at Penn State and Happy Valley has never been a thing. So that's a loss. And then we finish at home with Michigan State. And this game could mean something for both teams. With Pat Fitzgerald now at Michigan State, this is not going to be a pencil in a win kind of thing. They will be better. They'll play tougher and closer to the vest. And this could be the game that decides everything. So if we can get a win against Wisconsin and Nebraska and get that last win at home against a better Pat Fitzgerald-led Michigan State team, we can get to 6-6 and get to a bowl game, which I guess is progress. So this year will be determined if we can win a toss-up game, and that means holding up defensively, which means you kind of actually need a TC. So we'll see what happens with that. Some talk on the night report that Rutgers has a guy in mind, and it's going to be someone substantial. So we'll see. I always say if we could get a break here and win the games we should win, we can be 8-4, yada yada. I'm not going to say that this year. We're just going to wait and see what happens. On to our last bit of business. You've probably seen Rutgers Athletic Department Deficit Report by Sarge. This is nothing new. Rutgers has Congress. Congress has nothing on Rutgers athletics. We are at a deficit of $78 million for the 2024-2025 season. Since becoming a Big Ten school, 2014-15, we were running a deficit of just about $517 million. Always been an issue with us in recent years. And they used to say, well, we're expanding the program, investing in facilities, infrastructure, yada, yada, yada. We'll eventually be catching up as the Big Ten revenue sharing comes in. Yeah, no, it's not a thing. Chasing the dollars, whether it's Big Ten TV, digital revenue, as well as NIL revenue as a way to improve your program is not an answer for Rutgers to win and to be financially responsible. Now, there's a lot of programs that don't make money, but we seem to be really good at losing money. And I've talked about this a lot. We live in a professional sports market. People only care about college sports when you win, and then they'll jump on the bandwagon, jump off it really quickly. There isn't that social, cultural stickiness to being big college athletics fans. Several months ago, I recommended a video. If you get a chance to watch it on YouTube, how the Northeast lost its football culture. It's called The Death of College Football in the Northeast. So if you ever get a chance to watch that, watch that. So in addition to having obstacles to overcome of, being in a professional sports marketplace between New York and Philadelphia and losing homegrown student athletes, wanting to leave the area and get away from the craziness, a sprawling campus that feels like a commuter campus, a disjointed history of us being a public liberal arts college that became a de facto state university and the only state university in the country not named after the state, no identity, no stickiness with students, athletes, and residents. Alumni and fan apathy, no history and culture of success and winning, additional revenue will not save us. And we will never catch up. We're constantly spinning our wheels. And even if we experience a little bit of success, more money won't help. Even having Sched kind of success may not help, may help a little bit actually, but even then there's no guarantee of it sticking with us for long-term success, like a Michigan, Ohio State. If we start to win, you get some bandwagon fans, and then it's, you increase revenue somewhat, and then we take a downturn and you lose that just as quickly. So building long-term success and financial viability will be, it's going to be as much of a struggle for us as it is for Congress to eliminate the deficit, reduce spending, and create policies to expand growth. We're always behind. Kelly's in quote, obviously our expenses have exceeded and outpaced our revenue in some cases year over year to a pretty significant degree. That's a piece we will spend quite a bit of time on, understanding that the current fiscal year that we sit in there was a $20.5 million expense with the revenue sharing for athletes and additional scholarship support. So, a lot of people see Kelly Zinn as the magic, the secret sauce. I kind of saw that this was going to be a struggle for her. Yes, she's the smile, the happy face, the ambition, and the competence to generate some revenue. But we're always going to be grinding, spinning our wheels from behind. We plunged $76 million into football alone. The return, was according, if you read Sarge's report, you'll see all this. We got a 7-6 record, a loss to Kansas State in our bowl game. And the ticket revenue declined last year, and I could see this from sitting in section 124, so I'm not shocked. Announced attendance is never anywhere near the actual attendance, never. And I don't see it improving. I know that I am tired of watching wins against, Howard Wagner and Miami of Ohio, and then getting blown out by Wisconsin, Oregon, and UCLA at home. So why bother when you could, fight the traffic, fight the commute to the stadium and out of the stadium after a bad loss. So there's no fun in that. And it's expense. You got to seek contributions to keep your tickets. So, I'm not surprised that the revenue for ticket sales is not there. And it's not really a surprise that Kelly is prognosticating, as Sarge reports, that the picture won't be any better next year. And I feel a better product on the field will help that, especially against the Penn States or the Michigans or the Oregons of the world. But as Sarge reported, Shiano's salary is $6.5 million, which is the 38th highest nationally, which is about where, not ironically, where our recruiting classes are, but the wins aren't. And the irony is, with NIL making millionaires out of college athletes before they even started a legitimate business platform to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness, if nonprofit universities are now expected to act like business entities and business organizations, it would be a house cleaning. There would. You're losing revenue, bleeding profits. That's how it works in the real world. NCAA athletics can't have it all ways. I've talked about this ad nauseum. I won't beat it to death. But universities and nonprofits where, the administrators, upper management, they make the salaries and you depend on volunteers. That's how nonprofits work. Athletes are essentially volunteers, but they're treated like racehorses, right? There's a lot invested in them. Free tuition, free room and board, meals, this fee, that fee, transportation, training, coaching, free publicity, travel, meals, marketing, the support of the entire university apparatchik worth hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you finish college. So they're volunteers, but they're well-compensated volunteers even before NIL. And spending $20.5 million on NIL for Rutgers and still losing isn't an answer. Kelly's in. I think what you'll see a year from now is that it's going to be our worst year looking at a profit and loss scenario. I can see the shine starting to wear off of Kelly's in if we can't take that leap forward, which a lot of people, especially the younger guys, thought, NIL and revenue sharing is the answer. This will make Rutgers better. It won't. According to financial documents obtained through Open Public Records Act, the athletic department at Rutgers generated $146.6 million in total operating revenue, including a record $61.3 million from Big Ten media rights, distribution, and $10.7 million from the Football Bowl Revenue Fund. Those gains were offset by an 8.7% year-over-year increase in overall spending, leaving a $47 million operating shortfall when combined with institutional subsidies, state funding, student fees, yada, yada, yada. The total deficit reached a record $78 million. The lack of winning on the field, and I could see this when I'm in the stadium, ticket sales generated $9.2 million this past year, which is less year over year. And Kelly Zinn pointed out that the loss of ticket revenue stood out. And even though ticket revenue dipped, they did get an increase in single game sales. And I think there's a couple things going on there. One is, why be a season ticket holder? Rutgers tickets will be available anywhere. You get them on the secondary market. But the other thing is, going to these games and sitting in section 124 when it's Oregon and half the stadium's green, or it's Penn State, yeah, those people are going to flood your stadium. It's not people having an interest, an uptick in Rutgers football. So it's the third time in the last 5 years that we've incurred losses of over $70 million. We are now short $517 million. Since we joined the Big Ten, department expenditures have increased to 175% over the first 11 years in the Big Ten. This is not how it's supposed to work. You know, maybe if you went 9-3, 8-4, God forbid 10-2 a couple of years, you could have gotten some momentum forward. Athletics just represents 3.7% of the university's $5.28 billion budget. That being said, Kelly said the core issue is not runaway expenses, but the inability to generate significant revenue to keep pace. Now, if you come from LSU, where you can consistently generate football revenue year in and year out, that may not be a problem. But here it is a problem. So you will have to manage your expenses and generate revenue. She says you can make the argument that we do not have an expense problem, but we do, in fact, have a revenue problem, and it's a pretty significant one. Those admissions alone don't bode well for us. So there's a tough road to slog. The interest in Rutgers and college athletics it's just not there. And as I said over and over and over again, it's not rhetorical. Go back to a Middle State Atlantic 10, A10, Patriot League conference as a liberal arts institution that we used to be. I've said this a few times. We're in the early 70s. We would play, against Bucknell, Lehigh, William and Mary, Lafayette, Columbia, Princeton. NYU had a football team. It's part of a restructuring of higher education in New Jersey to split up Rutgers University into an elite public liberal arts university, and you have a identity with a University of New Jersey State University, University of South Jersey, North Jersey, whatever it might be, to get some stickiness with residents because you have an identity and something you can latch onto. That being said, that's about it. That's my rant for today. Last bit of business. New offensive line coach Jim Turner signs a contract. Kind of surprised. It's only $500,000 and $550,000 next year, which is about what Flats made. I thought there might be a significant increase in there, but there isn't. Nonetheless, that's it. I hope you get through the Arctic blast and the potential for a snow bomb cyclone this weekend. We'll see how that shakes out. It's going to be a nor'easter. How it tracks will depend on whether we get no snow or a foot and a half of snow. I hope you got through the last snow and the current Arctic blast in good shape. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you the next time.